Hi guys, welcome to Sam's School. So it's me, Sam. We're going to go over a past paper for grade 6 maths. If you are not in grade 6, that's also fine, because it's always a good idea to revise and, do other papers from other grades to help make sure you've got your basics in place and that you're feeling really solid and comfortable with theory and the understanding of how to do maths. Okay, so I only gave us an hour for this, and we might not get to the end of the paper, and I apologize because I've not done a lot of live streaming. I haven't totally planned it very well. My bad. Okay, so we're going to go through it. I'm not going to offer too much in-depth explanation on how to get to the answers. Work through the paper. If you need to after the live stream, you can always come back, pause the video, practice working the sums out for yourself. Also, I want to encourage students, for maths, what's important is that you get the basics under your belt in the way of multiplications. If you can do your multiplication tables in your head, that really helps a lot, because remember, you have to often not use a calculator in an exam. So you don't want to be working out 5 times 6 in your head and it takes you quite a while to do it. You want to get to that number quickly. Okay, without further ado, let's get into our paper and see what we've got. This exam was taken from a school paper that's available online. It's for 50 marks and you were given 1 hour to do it. Always keep a note of your time. Keep that in the back of your mind. You want to keep working at a good pace. If you get stuck on a question the first time around, please don't stop and struggle to think about it and try and answer it. Leave it, come back to it at the end so you don't run out of time. Okay, then always read your instructions carefully. They ask for us to write as many details as possible. Read and answer all questions thoroughly, and of course write neatly and legibly, because it's not just for the person marking's benefit, because it's really tiring to mark a pigsty, but also for your sake. If you have to come back and check yourself, nice and neat makes it simpler and easier to understand and see what you're doing and when you want to make changes. Okay, so here we go. We're going to do question 1, which is mental maths. There are a couple of those. And then we'll move on to question 2, which is data handling. Question 3 will be about time. Quite a few questions on time. It's quite an important topic for this grade. And then moving on to question 4 will be about mass and various conversions. And then question 5, perimeter, area, and volume. These are the things that are going to come up throughout your career in maths. Okay, so the sooner you get the basics down and dusted, the better. And these are always in an exam: perimeter, area, volume, etc. So it's important that you really understand these parts well. Okay, and then question 6 is problem solving. And that will be it. So not too bad. Let's get on with it and get back to the beginning. Okay, so feel free to try and do them quickly with me. But as I said, I'm not lingering. I'm getting on with it. So if you want to take your time, then come back and watch the video after it's done, and take your time and pause, etc. Okay, question 1, mental maths. 1.1, what is the sum of 300, 400, 250, and 350? Remember, guys, always important to understand the question before you're trying an answer, and look at what you are given, because that's valuable information that you've got to work with and use. Okay, I'm going to pause for a few seconds. Try work it out quickly for yourself. It's mental maths. And the answer, 1,300. 1.2. Besides the number 1, what is the smallest number to divide into 51? So we know that 1 will divide into 51 times. The way to work this out is try from 1 upwards until you find a number that works. You just do a few quick calculations on the side. See if you can work it out. The answer is 3. 2 will not divide into 51, but 3 will, and that is the smallest number that can divide other than 1. Okay, 1.3. They tell us to use BODMAS to solve the following. Go and revise what BODMAS is. Make sure you understand BODMAS well. I'll do follow-up videos. This is still a small channel, but I will be doing a lot more videos about actual, explaining and understanding of these concepts. This is just to get through a past paper. Okay, so we use BODMAS. 1 plus 2 times 3 plus 4 times 5. I'll give you a few secs to try figure it out for yourself. So first and foremost, I would actually just quickly put some brackets in for myself so that I don't get confused. And you would end up with 1 plus 2 times 3 is 6, plus 4 times 5 is 20. Add those all up and the answer is 27. Okay. 1.4. Write as one number 7 times, always count the noughts just to make sure it's 100,000, plus 5 times 10,000, plus 800, plus 3 tens, plus 5. You can choose where you want to start or how you want to do it, but you combine all of those together. And the answer is 750,835. 750,835. Quite straightforward, I think. Okay, let's do number 5. Fill in brackets in the correct place to make this true. And remember to use BODMAS. So we are given a whole bunch of numbers on the left, and we want those to equal 17. So we've got to arrange our brackets somewhere in that equation in order to make it equal 17 on the left as well. So we're trying to get 17 equals 17. And where we put our brackets will obviously change the value we get on the left. I'm going to write it out. It gives you a few seconds to try it for yourself. Okay, so the answer is you put the brackets around 30 divided by 10. And if you now work out the sum, you'll see that both sides equal 17. 14 plus 3. Oh, sorry. Wait a minute. Let me double check that. 30 divided by 10 is 3. 17 minus 7. That actually gives us 10. So it can be that that's incorrect. I haven't double checked all of this before we're doing this, so my bad. Apologies. But they are in the memo showing 30 divided by 10. Okay. Let's do 1.6. What is the difference between 1 million and 65,000? So what's the question actually asking us? It's a minus, right? The difference, how much is there between? So remember, don't get confused by the English words. Just read them and understand the question before you tackle the actual sum. So it's 1 million minus 65,000. And again, watch those noughts. Double check your noughts so that you don't fall into the trap and make an error. Okay. And the answer, if you've had enough time, I hope, is 935,000. 935,000. Okay. 1.7. 19,891 times what equals 19,891. Hopefully you saw that as a nice, easy freebie, kind of, and the answer is 1. It's the same number on both sides. Multiply by 1. Okay. 1.8. This is a little tricky for some. It shouldn't be, but it can be a bit confusing. So let's just quickly look at that to understand the question. What are they actually asking? They're saying 4/5 of 25. They're asking how much 4/5 of the number 25 would be. How do we work that out? So just to understand the problem, it means that your whole is 25. Okay, so let's imagine we cut a piece of pizza into 25 slices, which is quite a lot of slices, right? And what they're telling you is the number at the bottom No, I'm sorry. I'm talking nonsense. Don't mind me. It's been a long day already. Okay, so the pizza that we're doing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we're cutting our pizzas into 5 because remember the fraction at the bottom, the number 5, tells you how many pieces the original was cut into or how many groups of you had. So you had groups of 5. Okay, so the original 25 was divided into 5 groups of 5 each because 5 times 5 is 25. So out of your whole 25, you put a group of 5, a group of 5, a group of 5, a group of 5. Now they're asking you how many would there be if you took 4 of those groups. So you didn't take the full amount. The full amount would be 25. But each of the groups is divided into 5. So how many are there in 4 groups of 5? It's 20. It's 4 times 5, which gives you 20. Sorry about the confusions. When you get old, tiring. Okay, so 1.9. Write this number in digits, i.e. the numbers. 1,300,056. Remember not to accidentally miss out or skip or get confused with the zeros because that changes the outcome. Okay, 1,300,056, which means there's nothing in the hundreds column. So that's the final answer. Okay, let's move on to 1.10. If 3, 5, and 9 become 9, 25, and 81, what is the rule? So don't sit there and try and juggle all those numbers in your brain, even though it's mental maths. Just write them down so that it makes sense. So you've got 3 and 5 and 9 at the top, and then they say those numbers turn into 9, 25, and 81. So they're asking for what is the rule? In other words, how did we get that number to become that? How did we get that number to become that? How did we get that to become that? It's not the normal number pattern scenario. If you look at it, 3 times what gave you 9? 3 times 3. 5 times 5. 9 times 9. So what is the rule? You're squaring the number. X squared. Or squared numbers. That's the answer. So the next number in the pattern would be the next number squared. And so it would continue. But that's not what they were asking. It's x squared for the answer. Okay. Let's move on to question 2, data handling. I hope the one dear soul who logged on is managing okay and sticking with me. And for those that are going to watch later on, bear with me. I'll get better at doing these. I'm going to be putting out more papers soon, I hope, and also creating more content because I'm trying to grow this channel. So don't forget to subscribe, like, share, etc., to help the channel grow. That would be cool and hugely appreciated. Okay, question 2, data handling. 2.1, you surveyed 20 people, which means you got 20 people and you asked them a bunch of questions. You asked them what their favorite color is. And you took down your results. So you found 10 people liked blue, 5 people liked pink, 4 people liked green, and 1 person liked yellow, and quite nobody liked orange. Totally understand that. I hate orange. And happen to love blue as my favorite color and pink as my second favorite color. Just random useless information. Okay. They're asking you to draw a bar graph to represent this information. And this is quite a big question, so you want to concentrate and take your time on this, but not get bogged down in it and spend 20 minutes on this because it's only for 6 marks. Shouldn't take you longer than 6 minutes to do this. Okay, so they say draw the bar graph. What is a bar graph? It's those little bars or stripes, okay? Then you've got to do your axes. You've got to put your labels on. They've drawn it on the paper for you. If you get given the drawn thing in an exam, you don't have to do it on a separate sheet. You just go and fill out your details on each axis or each margin. So the side would be your numbers, and you would choose your, let's quickly draw one. As I said, I don't want to dwell too much on the actual practicalities of this. We'll do that in other videos, but we're going to have blue, pink, and green. You're going to put all your labels along the bottom to represent the numbers, and then you're going to put up a suitable scale up the side. And because we go all the way up to 10, it's not a very high number, so we're going to start at 0 down there, and then maybe we go up in to, because we've got the number 4, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. We could have something like that up the side for your scale, okay? And then you just go and draw in according to the information. Orange was 0, so let's put orange over there, and we would have a little cross at the point where the orange is. And so we would carry on. Blue, we had 10, so we would put it all the way up there. Pink, we had 5, so we would be about there. Green, we had 4. And I haven't actually done yellow. I ran out of space. But we would represent yellow as 1, so it would be over there. Okay, so you'd end up with something like that. Of course, a lot neater. Oh my word, that's terrible. But that's the idea. Remember to keep an eye on the time. You don't want to be going over the time on a question like this, because it's at the beginning of your paper. So perhaps leave something like this for the end, once you've finished all the easier, quicker questions, and then come back to this, and then you know you've got more time to spend on it, okay? So remember, we want the number of people, and we want the colors, okay? So we did, as I said, the colors at the bottom and the numbers up the left-hand side, and then you draw your little bars to the correct level, and that's it. You would get 6 marks. Okay, let's move on to the next question. 2.2. So now what we've got here are shoe sizes of 11 grade 6 learners. Now again, don't get confused by some information. Read it and digest what it's telling you, but don't always get too confused by it. We don't care which grade these people are in, do we? Okay, you grade 6s might care, but it doesn't matter. We know that we've got 11 kids, okay, 11 kids, and there are all their shoe sizes, okay? There's a range of different numbers, but we've got 11 kids. Don't lose sight of that. And now they ask us to order the numbers. So what does order mean? It means put it in order from smallest to biggest. So go and see how many number 2s you've got. You've got 2, and then you're going to write 3 because there's one person with 3. And then you've got 4 kids with size 4. So you don't write number 4 once. You've got to write it out 3 times, because you've got to actually have 11 numbers written down. You've just got to organize them from smallest to biggest. So don't just say 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 11, because you've missed out some of the kids. You've got to have all of them in there. So the correct order for that question is 2, 3, 4, 4, 4, 5, 5, 6, 6, 6, 9, 11. And then you've completed the order. The next question is the mode, which is the number in the middle, and it's 6. When you've organized them all, which is the number that's directly in the middle? From each end, you kind of count them back down until you hit the mode in the middle, 6. Okay. Median for this question is 5. The median is 5. And then the last question, 2.3, is the range. And the range is from 11 minus 2. So the range is 9. In other words, what possible choices are there between 2 and 11? 9. Okay. The answer is 9. If you're not sure what these mean, go and revise them and, yeah, practice a few more things, okay? Because we don't want to spend too much time on the theory here. Let's go on to question 3 and see how we're doing in the time zone. Okay, there's a nice good old-fashioned clock. We'll have a little look at it. Remember, your small hand is your hours, your big hand is the minutes, and those other little dials represent different things, and don't let that confuse you and make you like go, what? It's the same thing like it always is. So first they're asking what time is showing on this clock, and we can see it's 10 past 3. Write the time in 12-hour clock time and 24-hour clock time. So that's pretty easy. Remember, for 24 hours, we're going around the clock all the way to 12, and then we keep going 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So when we're doing 24-hour notation, we don't need to say AM or PM. When we're doing 12-hour notation, we do need to say AM or PM. So the first one, they ask for the 12-hour clock time, and it would be 3:10, and we would write it like this. And in brackets, we can say AM or PM because it didn't specify. It didn't give us any sort of extra information to guide us to whether it was AM or PM, so we give both. Because it is 3 o'clock once a day at the morning time and 3 o'clock once a day at the evening time, which is AM and PM. Then for the 24-hour notation, from 12 we go 13, 14, 15. So that would be 15, 10. Or sometimes we do an H, depending on what you've been taught. Both are fine. But we don't need AM or PM for that. Okay? Good. 3.2. How much longer is it until 12? Okay, so we're currently at just after 3 o'clock. So you're going to have to calculate the hours and the minutes. And the answer is 8 hours and 50 minutes. So if you're not sure how to get that, go and practice some more. Give yourself some different times to practice. You're just going to count up the hours and then do the minutes, but be careful how you do it so that you don't accidentally go over. Okay. Okay, let's look at number 3.3. They're asking us to calculate 8 days, the D is for days, and 4 hours, minus 4 days and 9 hours. So I'll leave you to think about it for a moment. There are different ways of doing it. So you could convert your days into hours and then change it back once you've done that. But once you minus the one from the other, you get 3 days, 19 hours. So if you start with 8 days and 4 hours and you minus 4 days and 9 hours, you end up with 3 days, 19 hours between. Okay, let's do number 4, 3.4. They're just asking you for 5 days. How many hours is that going to be? So we know that there are 24 hours in a day, and we multiply by 5. So the answer is 120 hours. Okay. 3.5, same thing. We're asked to turn years into months. Remember, how many months are in 1 year? 12. And we've got 3 years, so we know it's 3 times 12. That gives us 36, and then a half a year, which is another 6 months. So the total here would be 42 months. Okay. 3.6. You start your homework at 3:20 p.m. and you take 2 3/4 hours to complete it. So what time do you finish? First, understand the question. They've already told you how long you studied, because remember, they can change this question around. It works the same. You've just always got to read the question carefully. So they've said you start at 3:20 p.m. in the afternoon, 12-hour notation. And then you're going to be adding 2 hours and 3/4. Okay? 2 hours and 3/4 And so what time do you finish? You finish at 6:05 p.m. Okay, so and then you calculate. And don't forget, if your minutes go past the 60, it's an extra hour that you're adding. Okay, because you only have 60 minutes in an hour. So when you get to 59, 60, it jumps up another hour. Okay, so don't get caught in that. Make sure you know how to do that and that you're comfortable doing that. Okay, 3.7. Draw the hands on the clock to show 9:50. Wow, that's quite an easy one. I think they probably feel like you need a brain breather after, some of the other wow ones further back there. Okay, so there's the clock. All you have to do is your hands and your minutes. I'm just going to do a very rough one quickly. This is super easy. Remember, the long hand is for the minutes and the short hand is for the hour. So also, because they have a few minutes, don't put it exactly on the number, because we know that when the hour moves, as the hour hand is moving between, let's say, 5 and 6, it's moving ever so slightly, whilst the minutes hand is moving a lot more, right? So make sure you show that it's not quite at the 10 o'clock. It's just a little bit in front of the 10 o'clock, but the minutes hand is exactly at the 10 o'clock. So it should look something like that. You just use a ruler and you draw it neatly, but make sure your minute hands point, because it said 9:50, 50 on the dot for the minutes, which means the big minutes hand is directly on the 10. And so the hour hand is just a little bit in front of that, because it hasn't yet reached 10 o'clock. Okay. Question 4. Now we're moving on to mass. What mass is indicated on the scale? So they want the answer in kilograms and grams, again, conversions. So make sure you guys practice this a lot, because this stuff comes up in exams all the time. Feel very comfortable moving between one to the other, backwards and forwards, and always know how much of one is in another, because if you don't, you're stuck. So we know that how many grams are in a kilogram? 1,000. Okay. So on the scale, we see the little point, the arrows pointing to 500. We see that this scale is marked in a small g, which is marked in grams. So this scale is actually measuring grams. So the answer in grams, which is the second line, is 500 grams. And in kilograms, 0.5 or half a kilogram, because there's 1,000 grams in 1 kilogram. Okay, 4.2. A cable car can carry up to 900 kilograms. Okay, so we've got a cable car. Ching. Wow, my artwork today is horrendous. So we got a little tour group going on. Everybody jumped in the cable car and they went up the mountain. This cable car can manage 900 kilograms, okay? 900 maximum. So they can only put certain people in there. And they say the average person weighs 80, okay? So each of these little dudes weighs 80. How many little dudes can we squeeze into the cable car? So you do your division. You say your 900 divided by 80, and you'll find that 11 people can fit in, and there's a remainder. Remember, we can't have a part of another person. We don't want to get all gruesome here. So 11 people can fit in safely, because we want to be below. So 11 times 80 is just below 900. We've got a remainder of 20 kilos. And that's a 2-mark question. So you do want to show the working out and give your remainder to get the full marks for that. Okay. 4.3, we want to calculate 600 kilograms minus 115 kilograms times 4. BODMAS rules, okay, so we multiply the brackets first. And when you finish that and you do the full calculation, you will find the answer is 140 kilograms. So you just remember to times what's in the brackets. You minus it from 600, there's your answer. And don't forget the kilograms, always have to use your notations, okay, your units. Otherwise, you don't get full marks. 4.4, they're asking us to convert 3,54 kilos into grams. So we're going to have 3,540 grams. 4.5, 4.5 T. What is T? If you don't know, it's tons. Tons. There's 1,000 kilograms in a ton. So remember, make yourself a little table if you're still getting confused by all of these, where you're doing millimeters to centimeters to meters to kilometers, and then have another one with your milligrams, grams, kilograms, tons, just so that you know how to move from one to the other. So 4.5 tons equals 4,500 kilograms. And the last one, 3,008 grams. So now we're going up to kilograms. So we divide by 1,000 and we get 3,008 kilograms. Be careful not to drop those zeros. Don't say 3,8 kilograms because that's not correct. It's 3,008. Make sure you understand how that works out and how to get to that. Okay. Let's move on to question 5. Perimeter area volume. Remember I said this is always going to come up in an exam, so make sure you understand this well, that you're comfortable with these sorts of questions. And the basic idea is perimeter, if you've got a guard dog who's protecting your house and he's patrolling the perimeter, the outside fence, that's the line, the outside line. The area is the space inside, the area where you live, your living area. Okay, so for the first question, here's our rectangle. They've given us 2 sides, 8 meters, 9,7 meters. We know obviously what the other 2 lines are because it's a rectangle. So you would just fill in your 9,7 at the top and 8 on the side. Then you calculate perimeter, which is simply adding up the 4 sides. And you would end up with 35,4 meters. Now remember, to get to the area, how do we calculate area? We take one side multiplied by the other. So in this example, it's 8 meters multiplied by 9,7 meters. And so you get the idea. So it's not just the outside area, it's the multiplication. And remember, your answer has to be meters squared, because we're multiplying 2 sides. And we'll see in a minute what happened with the volume. Okay, so the answer there for the area, 77,6 meters squared. Make sure you know how to get it. If you're stuck, redo, retry, keep practicing until you get it. Now, volume is where we start doing 3D. Remember, we're turning it into 3D shapes now. And in this case, it's not quite a cube, it's more of a rectangle, because we don't have equal sides. How do we do volume? It's simply the 3 numbers multiplied together. Okay, length, breadth, height. 5 meters times 5,4 meters times 3 meters. And the answer needs to be in meters cubed because we're timesing the 3 sides. And the answer is 81 meters cubed, which we write like that. So pause or go over the video again. Do the calculations, make sure you know how to get to that answer. Okay. We'll move on to question 6, problem solving. Now remember, these are like word-based problems. And so they're giving you all the information in words, and you just got to read them carefully and understand what the words are giving you before you worry about doing the maths. So first understand the question, digest the information carefully, and then figure out what they're asking of you. 6.1. Okay, so there are 7 people in a room. We've got 7 people. And I always like to do this when I'm doing stuff and practicing stuff and going over my theory. I draw myself these little picture type things, okay, to just help me understand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 people. Okay. And they all hug each other once. How many hugs are given? And the answer is 21 hugs. 21 hugs. And if that's tricky for you, then go and break it down into, you know, different picture forms to help you figure it out. Not going to go over the theory in detail now. That's just a short, quick one. Okay, 6.2. How many poles are needed to build a 25-meter palisade fence with the poles 5 meters apart? So again, I'm going to keep the people here because it's just easier. It saves time. Oops, sorry about that. I've got a touch screen. And I touched the screen, obviously. Sorry. Okay, so imagine these are the poles. Okay, and they say that the distance is 5 meters in between. So you just do the same thing, 5 meters. Okay, and they want 25 meters of palisade fence. So we need another one here, 5 meters. Okay, so we're going to X the last dude. He got fired. Right. So there's the 25 meters, 5 times 5, 5 spaces. Okay, but how many people are there? 6. Because remember, the outer poles, the outer edges, those still count. But there's 5 spaces in between, so it's an extra number of poles. And remember, you've got to do this and show the working out so that you will get the full marks, but it's 6 poles. Okay, in this picture, find and label an example of an acute angle in blue pen. So remember to read instructions carefully because they want you to do things in a certain way. You have to use a blue pen for that acute angle. What's an acute angle? It's less than 90. Anything less than 90 is acute because 90 is a right angle. And after 90, when it's fatter, it's the obtuse angle, the fatter angle. And they want that angle drawn in pencil. Okay, so you just have to look at the picture and find an example in the picture. There's various options. If you look at the tripod of the camera at the bottom, it's standing on 3 little legs. And if you notice there, there's the little angle there between the 2 legs. That's definitely an acute angle. So you would just take your blue pen and draw a little. Let me actually do it for you guys quickly, because I see we've actually done quite quickly on this paper. And I've had planned an hour for the video, so let's just quickly look at it. So there's our little tripod with the camera at the top. Okay, and they've asked us to do the acute angle in blue. So you would just take your blue pen and you would draw it like that. And then in pencil, which I'll do in black, for the obtuse, which is greater than 90, then you could just draw it there. Okay. Alrighty, guys, I'll put out another paper in the week. I'll take my time because I didn't schedule a lot of time for this. I only gave us an hour, so I wasn't sure how we'd get done. Hence, I haven't done a lot of the explaining and the working out and the showing of the working out. So catch a couple more in the future, and I'll do some more explanations for you guys. Hope this helped. Please share, like, etc., because I'm trying to grow the channel. Also, put in the comments if you've got any suggestions on different ways or different ways of presenting it, or ideas for how else to do it, how else you'd like me to go through these past papers with you. I know for past papers, we don't want to hang about and do tons of theory and explanations. So great. I'll see you guys on the next one, hopefully. And keep studying hard, keep working. You'll get there. Bye.